Hello, everyone. Thank you for your kind introduction, Ray. I'm going to start. I was going to say, can you hear me now? Now that I'm behind the podium and I cannot see the prompter, I was going to ask, can you see me now? So since I hear your laughter, I know that you can both hear me and see me. So it's my pleasure to start this first session on data integrity from international perspective. First, I would like to give you the topics and introduce our speakers for this session. First, Gail Francis, expert GCP inspector from MHRA UK, and I will give a joint presentation on background and purpose of our GCP collaboration. Gail is, as I say, she is the expert GCP inspector from MHRA UK. She has extensive experience both in regulatory as well as pharmaceutical industry. The second talk will be on quality management system and quality by design talk by Dr. Jean Molinde. Jean is currently a senior advisor in DCCE, OSI, CDER. Prior to joining OSI, Jean was clinical team leader for Division of Anti-Infective in CDER Office of New Drugs. Jean is board certified physician in internal medicine as well as infectious disease. Jean's talk will be followed by Gail coming back to the stage and giving overview of data integrity. The last speaker for this session is going to be by Dr. Kasa Ayalu on GCP assessment of data reliability in a registration trial. Kasa is one of the branch chiefs in DCCE. He's the branch chief of GCP assessment branch. Prior to joining OSI, Kasa was clinical team leader in Division of Medical Imaging and Hematology Product in CDER Office of New Drug. He also served as medical officer in Center for Biologics. And then he came to CDER after when part of CBER merged with CDER in 2006. Kasa is a practicing pediatrician with subspecialty training in pediatric infectious disease. Learning objective of this activity, participants will be able to define GCP, data quality, data integrity, and data reliability from global clinical trial perspectives, and participant will be able to describe GCP collaborative activity and challenges. So we're going to start with background and purpose of GCP collaboration, and I would like to invite my wonderful colleague from MHRA UK, Gail Francis, to join me in doing this joint presentation.
Thank you, Nay.
As you all know, GCP is an international, ethical, and scientific quality standard for designing, conducting, recording, and reporting clinical trials. In recent years, regulatory agencies have increased in collaboration in conducting GCP inspection to ensure data integrity and human subject protection to optimize use of our resources, And we all know regulatory agencies conduct GCP inspection not only to ensure human subject protection and data reliability, and also ensuring that the clinical trials are conducted according to applicable regulation. And above all, we all work in drug development. It's all go towards protection of public health.
So MHRA and FDA have a history of working together, and we've worked together throughout the EMA FDA GCP initiative, and that started off in September 2009. So as part of that initiative, we looked at the ways each other inspected and had a look at what we could learn from each other throughout that time. We were able to share information, so we talked about some common GCP technical issues. We looked at some relevant inspection findings, so things that were common to both Europe and the US as well. We were also able to conduct some collaborative inspections and looking at some shared marketing applications, so applications that have come into Europe as well as coming into the US. The FDA and the EMA hold bi-monthly teleconference meetings, and also the European GCP inspectors have regular teleconferences as part of our inspectors working group, so we get together 3 or 4 times a year. FDA have been part of those discussions as well. European inspectors also get together once a year for an annual training event, and again, FDA have attended those annual training events and indeed presented and provided training on those annual events as well. And in return, EMA inspectors have also participated in some FDA inspectors training as well. The collaboration between MHRA and FDA started back in 2014 when Nia and I found each other at the EMA training event in Paris. And since then, we've been able to have many more discussions thinking about information sharing and working towards some collaborative inspections, and some joint inspections is what we're working on now. We have quarterly meetings to talk to each other. We also have annual face-to-face meetings as well, so we can discuss some technical issues and some logistical issues in terms of what we see. A common misconception is that EMA have their own team of inspectors. That's actually not the case. When marketing authorization applications come in via the centralized route, which is coming into Europe, these are reviewed by the Committee for Human Medicinal Products, and that committee will request inspections. Those inspections are then coordinated by EMA, and the inspections are carried out by European member state inspectors, so inspectors such as myself, MHRA colleagues, other colleagues from Germany, France, etc. In addition to that, we also in the European member states have our own national inspections, so we will obviously be looking at oversight of clinical trials conducted in our own territory, so they may be part of a national inspection programme, but also may be part of national marketing authorization applications as well.
So for us in US, we conduct a GCP inspection under the BIMO program. BIMO program is an agency-wide inspection program, and it's generally conducted by our Office of Regulatory Affairs, Office of BIMO Operation FDA investigators. Those of us in Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, CDER, will participate in some of those inspections as subject matter experts. And today and tomorrow, you will meet several of us who works in Office of Compliance, Office of Scientific Investigation, OSI, who are responsible for initiating GCP and pharmacovigilance inspection. Pharmacovigilance inspection is generally requested or arranged by the sister division within OSI, Office of Enforcement and Post-Marketing Safety. And you will also meet speakers and cases from our Office of Study Integrity and Surveillance in terms of bioequivalence and GLP inspections that they do. And inspections are generally generated for new molecular entity or new indication or new population. Would go to Office of New Drug, along with the Office of New Drug clinical reviewers and biostatisticians, and some for ClinPharm studies, Office of Clinical Pharmacology. we will collectively decide on what inspection, for the inspection that we would conduct, site inspection. And this is just a diagrammatic representation of what we do within the CDER offices and OSI and OSIS by the program area. And as you see, it starts from non-clinical drug development and phase 1, 2, all the way to post-marketing safety group. Our GCP group will be responsible for sponsor CRO and clinical investigators for not just routine data audit, but also for complaints for for-cause inspection, GCP complaint for for-cause inspection. We also do surveillance inspection of institutional review boards and radioactive drug research committee. And OSIS is responsible for doing GLP and bioanalytical BE clinical inspections. In addition to that, we are also involved in risk modeling and international collaboration activities. And the other sister division within OSI, they're responsible for pharmacovigilance, PV inspections, and RAMS and PMR, and also for enforcement.
So MHRA conducts a number of different types of inspections. Most of them are part of our risk-based program and are systems-based. So that means we look across at systems and processes, procedures across an organization, and then we would select a number of different clinical trials to use as examples to illustrate those processes and those systems. The risk is based on a number of things, so it could be a number of clinical trials that the organization is conducting, it could be type of trials, type of population, and obviously type of IMP as well that's being looked at. We also base risk on compliance, so we have some information on past compliance history from previous inspections, so that will influence the national program as well. We do, as I said, we conduct systems inspections, but we also do conduct some study-specific inspections, so dig down in depth into the data for a specific clinical trial as well. Our inspections can be triggered, so they can be via some intelligence that we've received, some particular concerns we've got in terms of compliance. It could be via whistleblowers or reports of serious breaches that might trigger an inspection. We also have a voluntary phase 1 accreditation scheme, so for the phase 1 clinics in the UK, they can take part in an accreditation scheme and actually earn their accreditation. We also do requested inspections, so as I said previously, we also conduct inspections on behalf of EMA, but we can also do inspections that have been requested by our own licensing division, so those that have come in as a part of a national approval. We've also done a number of inspections with other agencies. That could be part of a training program, or it could be because in both countries we've got some specific concerns with a particular organisation that we want to take some joint regulatory action about. In the MHRA, we essentially have the freedom to inspect anybody and any organisation that's involved in clinical trials. So there's a big sort of list here. So we obviously inspect commercial sponsors, so big, medium, small pharma. We also inspect non-commercial organisations, so that could be universities, it could be hospital trusts, it could be medical research charities. We also look at clinical investigator sites. They tend to be tied to a sponsor inspection rather than something that's standalone. And of course, we also look at contract research organisations. We also look at what we call niche providers. So for example, those companies that are providing electronic systems, so they could be providing electronic CRFs, electronic patient-reported outcomes, diaries, or interactive response technology, so systems that manage the IMP. We also have a program to inspect clinical laboratories and also non-commercial clinical trial units. As I mentioned before, we also inspect phase 1 units and have an accreditation scheme that looks after those. And we inspect a lot of bioequivalence facilities. These tend to be outside the UK, so we do quite a lot of work in India in relation to bioequivalence. EMA inspections can also be routine or triggered. So when inspections are selected, we will look at some routine elements of that. So inspection might be selected on the basis of criteria such as product type. It could be a particular focus on a therapeutic area we're interested in, or target populations, or locations of sites. So it could be sites that we don't have any knowledge of, or it could be sites that we do have knowledge of, perhaps because FDA have already been there, and we might have some concerns and want to follow something up when a new application comes through. EMA inspections can also be triggered. So that might be that when medical assessors are reviewing the application, they might see some anomalies in the data that perhaps they want us to go and look at, which means we can go back to investigator sites and look at the raw data and report back any findings that we have.
I think for types of inspection that we do for US FDA, I've already covered in previous slides. Just to recap, it's routine data audit inspection in support of, for pivotal trials submitted in support of marketing application. And although currently right now, data sets submitted for our risk-based site selection tool is voluntary. We have a draft guidance, binding draft guidance release, and we are receiving more and more applications with site-specific data sets. So we're using site selection to select clinical investigator sites. And for, of course, for course inspection, it's for any phase of drug development. The second branch within GCP Clinical Oversight branch will evaluate incoming GCP complaint and will issue for course inspection requests. And the surveillance inspection is for IRB, RDRC, and bioanalytical inspections. So who are the lucky ones that when we talk about collaborative inspections? And some of you probably have already experienced our joint inspections with EMA or with EMA. Both regulatory bodies are on site at the same time present, or at an overlapping time conducting an inspection. Both agencies follow our own respective agency process and procedure for performing inspection, and we will write independent separate inspection report accordingly. But we will be discussing and exchanging information while we are present at the investigator site. And the other collaborative inspection is observational inspection, and it's the name implies one agency observed GCP inspection of the other non-inspecting authority during the inspection.
So the purpose of our GCP collaboration is to look at the inspection findings from both agencies to sort of compare and contrast. So we're going to be collecting metrics as we move forward. So to look into the similarities and the differences between the inspection findings and to see what we can learn about that and see what we can change in order to be a little bit more convergent. So we're focusing on GCP findings really relevant to data reliability and data integrity. And we have a particular interest in electronic systems as well. So as part of the collaboration, of course, we're going to share intelligence related to clinical trials. We can also share expertise between the two agencies. We have different expertise, different experience, different backgrounds. So this lends itself very well to learning a lot from each other. And obviously what we want is a shared understanding of technical and compliance issues, which hopefully will lead to more convergent expectations in terms of both agencies, which hopefully will make it easier for those of you conducting global clinical trials if you're aware that we have the same expectations.
And as we all know, in recent years, globalization of clinical trials has become a reality. And we have finite resources limit the number of inspections that can be conducted, and user-fee timelines and accelerated drug approval program also requires a very high level of efficiency for marketing application. And obviously, there are increasing number of sites per clinical trial and trial sites outside in our own or familiar region, that's outside North America region and EU in multi-regional trials.
So other challenges that we face are also for novel trial design and methodology. So the way that clinical trials are evolving means that the way that we inspect has to adapt as well. So we're seeing adaptive designs, we're seeing pragmatic trials and real-world evidence trials. So these are trials where we're lifting the data directly from electronic health records. We're starting to see risk-based monitoring, remote and centralized monitoring. We're also seeing a shift in what we call the trial site. So we're moving to sort of decentralized and what we call in the UK the hub and spoke model. So these are for either patients that live in remote areas or patients that struggle to get into an investigator site on a regular basis. We're looking at different models for those. We also have new and changing technologies, so electronic systems. We're seeing all the time in clinical trials. We're seeing telemedicine and mobile technology, which are making things, reducing the burden for patients, making it quicker and easier to collect data and to process that data. But it does pose some specific challenges for us when we're trying to inspect a clinical trial that has all those different elements within them.
So as we move forward, Gail already mentioned we are giving a closer look into common GCP findings, similarity and differences, in order to determine how regulatory bodies may work more efficiently to coordinate inspection efforts whenever possible, and for any other project, continuous process improvement it's on our radar screen.
One of the real aims of our collaboration really is to provide some guidance in some common GCP technical areas. There's a lot of similarities in what our expectations are. So what we would like to start to see is a more convergent approach from our two agencies, hopefully, as I said, making global clinical trials a little bit easier. So we want to really try and keep ahead of all the changing designs and changing technologies. And so that's really going to be an area of focus for us as we move forward. So just to finish off then, we also have some challenge questions for you. So this is a true or false question. So GCP is an international ethical and scientific quality standard for designing, conducting, recording, and reporting clinical trials. So the question is true or false. So raise your hand if you think that that's true. A good portion of you. And you are correct. Of course it's true. And as Neil was talking about the GCP Inspection Challenges, these include limited resources, timelines, novel trial designs, new technologies used in global trials, all of the above. So I'll whiz through this really quickly because we're a bit short of time now. Raise your hand if you think it's just limited resources, timelines, novel trial designs, new technologies used in global trials, or all of the above. Thank you very much. Thank you.